Hey everyone, Danielle here with a little mini tutorial on distress inks. I had mentioned distress inks in the first video when we were talking about different types of dye inks, and I had showed you these, and I just wanted to go ahead and let you know a few of the really neat techniques that you can use these for. You can certainly use them for your regular stamping, but like I mentioned in the first video, you're not really going to get a clean, crisp, even image if you do stamp with this. I had showed you this little sample I did where I did the distress inks and then a regular Hero Art shadow ink, and the distress inks definitely have an uneven kind of splotchy look to them, which is fine if you're going for the distress look, and I do use it every now and then for this, but just keep in mind that you're not going to get an even stamp with the distress inks. Instead, what I like to use it for are really a number of other techniques that are really cool, and I'm just going to show you 2 or 3 in this short little video so you can get an idea. First thing you're going to need is one of these craft sheets, and it's non-porous, very slick, so it's not going to absorb any color. You can put glue on this, you can emboss on it, you can get ink all over it, and it's really nice because it just is going to wipe right off. I definitely would not recommend using this ink blending like I'm going to show you on your dining room table because it could certainly stain the wood, especially if it doesn't have a finish on it. So you definitely want to pick up one of these craft sheets, or some people I know use baking sheets, like a silicone baking sheet, same idea. Green and purple are my favorite colors, so these are my 2 favorite greens, Shabby Shutters and Peeled Paint. And I'm going to take this plain piece of white cardstock and I'm going to show you how you can kind of transform it into something different. And so one of the other tools you might want to have on hand is one of these foam blending tools. It's a little block of wood with a handle. On the bottom it has this Velcro, and it's going to come with these little foam applicators, and they just stick right on the bottom. I have foam applicators pretty much for every color because obviously I wouldn't want to use this green one and then dip it in red because that would not look nice. But they're really inexpensive to buy, and you can use them over and over and over again. And so one of my recommendations when you're using this foam blending tool is definitely start working on the outside of your paper, like on your craft sheet, and then pull the color, kind of gently pull the color onto your paper. Because if you were to take this blending tool and just go right to your paper, you would get pretty much an impression of the foam, and that's not really the look that we're going for. And so you're going to take your foam and you're just going to stamp it like you would a stamp in your ink pad, and it's going to pick up the ink. And I'm going to start with the lighter of the 2 shades. And like I said before, really important not to just go straight to your paper because you'll get a lot of ink and smears and impressions, and it's not going to be as smooth as if you were to start on your craft sheet and then gently pull the color onto your paper. And it does take a little bit of practice just trying to get the right touch and get the hang of it, but it's really easy to use. So I'll just get started. I'm going to fast forward through this so you can kind of see how it works. It does take a little bit of time, not too long, and the beauty of it is that you can make it as dark or as light as you want. You can obviously apply more or less color. You can make it look really distressed or give it a more even look, and you can blend different shades of the same color like I'm going to do in this video, or you can always mix different colors like greens and blues or green and purple, which is really neat. So your options are pretty much endless. So that was the Shabby Shutters, and I'm going to go ahead and pretty much do the same exact thing with the darker shade, the Peeled Paint, and I'm just going to keep this color more confined to the outside of the paper. So same idea, just start working around the edge just to really highlight the lighter color towards the center of the paper and make the edges a little darker and pop out more. And so I'm pretty pleased with how that's turned out. I could leave it like this, but I'm actually going to show you a little bit more. But before I move on, one of my tips I learned the hard way is you will get ink pretty much all over your fingers when you do this. And so if you're going to be moving on to touching a white piece of cardstock, you definitely want to wipe your hands off. And so baby wipe like I use, or just a wet paper towel, comes off really easily, and so just make sure that you wipe your hands before you start doing anything else. So now that my hands are clean and dry, I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the fun things that you can do with these distress inks. They were designed to really react really neatly with water. And so I have this giant mini mister. I guess it's not really a mini mister, it's just a mister. But you can take it and you can spray water straight onto this piece of cardstock that we just inked. And I only did a little spritz, but you can kind of see, especially up towards the right hand side, which is almost out of the camera, some little splotches from where I sprayed the water. And so if you wanted just a really subtle effect with the water droplets, you could do that, just a light spritzing, or you could put on your fingers and kind of flick it. But what I want to show you with just using some water and this little panel of cardstock we just colored green, what you can do. So I'm going to take this really neat zigzag background stamp by Hero Arts, and I'm actually going to just take some water from my mini mister, and I'm going to stamp my stamp into the water and then stamp it onto the cardstock. And so I'm just spraying some water on my craft sheet. I'm going to take my stamp and really just stamp it straight into the water until I get it, you know, a relatively even coverage with water. It's kind of hard to get water to stick to your stamps. And I'm going to dry it off because I don't want to totally soak that piece of cardstock. And then I'm going to bring the cardstock over, and I'm just going to stamp my wet stamp right onto this piece of green green paper. I'm going to push down, and sorry about my head there. When I pull it off, it's going to be really faint, the result, but you can kind of see it. You can kind of see the zigzag pattern just barely, especially in the areas where it's a little bit darker. But it's like magic when I take my heat gun, because I'm going to start drying it. This just speeds up the drying process. And as it dries, you can really see the pattern start to emerge. And I just think that's really neat. And all it took was a little bit of water to get that effect. And so imagine the possibilities really are endless when it comes to using these distress inks and playing with them with water. And so, like I said before, you can obviously just use this piece of paper as it is as a background for your card, as a mat. You can paper piece it, stamp on it, do whatever you would like with it. And so I'm going to put that aside because I am going to use it for a card for this week. Another word to the wise is after you do that foam blending, make sure you go ahead and just really wipe down your craft mat really well, because there will be some residual ink obviously left on it, and it's really a shame when you go ahead and put a white piece of cardstock or another piece, if you start working with other colors and you kind of contaminate your project. So the next thing I did was I stamped this really cute flower from Lawn Fawn Judy's Blooms, and I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. I'm just going to show you how you can use the distress inks to color in your images. So if you don't have markers, or you're not a fan of markers or colored pencils, you can even use your distress inks to color in your stamped images. So I went ahead and stamped this, and I'm going to use 3 different shades of purple just to kind of get some, you know, shading and shadows. And I kind of just roughly cut it out. You can see that I still need to really go around the edges. And I'm going to do the same thing with the purples that I did with the greens and my foam blending tool. I'm just going to go ahead around the edges and start working with the colors, starting from lightest to darkest. And just like with the green, I'm going to kind of keep the darker shades confined to just the edges of this flower and leave it a little bit lighter on the inside, kind of like a highlight, as if the light were hitting it right in the center of the flower. And so that's that. And what I actually did was I stamped another one, and I'm going to do the same thing, color it with the purple, and I'm just going to kind of cut part of it out and paper piece it to give the flower a layered look, which is really neat. So I think the purple with this green is going to look really nice for the card that I'm going to make you for this week. So hopefully you were able to learn a little something about distress inks. I'm going to make some videos in the future to show you the other million techniques you can do with it. But if you've never used distress inks, I suggest at least getting one ink pad and one of the foam blending tools and trying it out, because the possibilities really are endless. I don't know how people don't use distress inks. I use it on almost every card because there are so many cool things that you could do with it. And it comes in so many beautiful colors. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.